My name is Donnie McNichol of Team Animation, and I would like to share with you some material on improving communication, in particular how to improve communication and engagement through identifying and modifying your preferred style. We are all unique. If you look here, we've got a project manager, and I lightly use the term or the person project manager to talk around this, although it could be anyone in any context. We review materials, communicate, delegate, celebrate, motivate others, deal with conflict. We do all of these things uniquely. So it can be very helpful to try and differentiate between different types of people to allow us to actually see how you might be able to modify your approach. I'm sure you're well aware that you tend to get a much more positive outcome if you are able to modify your approach to suit the other person. When you are, again, take the example of the project manager who's working with a senior stakeholder or your sponsor, it really is down to you to be making the modifications necessary to allow you to get what you need to move the project forward. The various ways of doing it, if you look at this image here, the 4 tree trunks, they're all very different in shape externally, but they're all very different internally as well. And the tool that we use is a tool called isIMA, which I'll explain in just a moment, but it is not a personality tool, it's a simple diagnostic that identifies communication and engagement style. And as you can see, it's not going to tell you what colour underpants you're going to wear in 3 days' time, but it will give you some indication about some information around your communication. So it's very useful, but again, keep in mind we are all different and unique. So just say a little bit about isIMA. It stands for Identify, Modify and Adapt. So identify what your own and the other person's approach is, modify it to suit, and then adapt as the circumstance, because you may not have got the modification correct. It's a colour-based model, similar to other models. If you have used the Insights model, it's very similar in terms of the outcome. If you switch the green and the blue profiles around, it's a very similar type of outcome. It's simple and fast. You can complete it at www.ima-pm.co.uk. Each of the colours are called high because it is about the predominance of that style for that particular colour. So it's not saying that you are all the time that. It is more likely in most situations that you would exhibit those kinds of behaviours. It's your comfort zone. That's what it's basically describing. And it's effective, it's immediate insight and application. We like it. We use other tools that require payments and require a facilitator to communicate the results. We love isIMA because it is immediate. You can do it there and then, and you can get straight to the issue at hand, why the team has got an issue, why the coachee has got an issue. So you're talking about the issue much quicker. And it's sustainable in that it's unlimited use, as many people as you want, and you can repeat it as many times as you like as well. And it's got a global reach. James, who created isIMA, is using it globally with practitioners all over the world. And some of the ways, so if you look at the different layers here, we've got things about understanding self. Once you understand that, then you've got the issues about relationships, how each of the colours relate to each other. Then you've got a teams layer and you've got a cultural layer. And each of those, we use isIMA, each of those different layers in different ways. So, like all good models, they are all based on distinctions. So Myers-Briggs has got 4 distinctions, if you will. isIMA has got 2 distinctions. The first one is around someone's level of openness, their readiness and willingness to share and show feelings, enter into initiate relationships, and so on. So we've got 2 spectrums. It's either at one end of the spectrum or the other, the way the model is. So on the left-hand side, it's a thinking left brain view of the world. Orientation is towards task, tend to be self-contained and guarded. And there's some characteristics about a typical person who's got that task orientated. So they don't readily share and show feelings, take longer for them to warm up, make decisions based on logic. At the other end of the spectrum, we have the right brain. So their orientation is towards relationships. Rather than being self-contained, they're very open and sharing. Some of the things, they'll wear their heart on their sleeves, read like an open book, share feelings about themselves. So that's the first distinction that the model works on. The second distinction is around the level of assertiveness. So as a person's need to move forward, so the degree of directness, forcefulness and so on, and the way they deal with the information and situation. So you can have somebody who is non-assertive or slow to assert themselves. So they tend to even move at a slower pace, they tend to be compliant, cooperative, supportive, maybe even soft-spoken. The other end, you have got assertive, and they are fast to assert themselves. So they move at a faster pace, outspoken, dominative, talkative, extrovert. You may not find it quite easy to guess which on that spectrum where I may sit. So out of those two, you come up with the wonderful 2x2 model, which all great things are based on nowadays. And you end up with the 4 isIMA colour styles. So the high green, high blue, high red, and high yellow. And most people, as I've said, they're a blend. You usually have this dominant high colour, and it's a comfort zone. And as I mentioned earlier, if you tend to respond to, deal with somebody in the colour, their colour, then there's a greater chance of good quality engagement. And we use isIMA extensively in coaching and mentoring, facilitation, training sessions, resolving issues with teams. So it's a very useful tool. So let's go on and just talk about each of them in a little bit of detail. So the high green, first of all, they tend to be very process-orientated, structure, like things done the way that it was said that was going to be done. They like to be organised, they like to have logic and be doing the right thing. The high blue tend to be very pleasant, people-orientated, very much about building one-to-one relationships, want the people and relationship issue focused on, will be the person in the team, very important for building harmony across the team because they'll deal with each of the individual issues and conflicts that come up. Tend to be, broad brush, but tend to be one of the least valued colours in a team we've found. Then there's a high red, so they are very assertive, direct, so their focus is about, well, what did we say we were going to do, when are we going to do that, what resources are required to achieve that, so it's very focused in that way. And then the high yellow, so they are tend to be very innovative, they like bringing groups of people together, they like to bring new ideas into things, they like to revisit, so it's a different profile again. So what you've ended up with, and so before going back to those 4, just keep in mind when we look at this image about order, chaos and order, we are all different, and we do need to keep that in mind, that we are different and the same things appear differently to different people. So that's the overview of the 4 isIMA colour styles. So what I'm going to do now is to say, well, that's great, that's the identify stage. If you can ask someone, of course, to complete this because it's a 3-minute exercise by completing 10 questions at the link above. But now we need to think about the modifying and adapting. So first, just let's think about a little bit about their strengths. So the strengths of the high blue will make sure certain ideas are carried out, will bring stability to the group, very much about personal warmth and ability. High green will make certain that details are covered, the project is done well based on the way we said we were going to do it, very precise and efficient. Reds will keep focus and insist on results. We were supposed to have achieved X by Y, and they tend to be a high level of assertiveness and ability to get the job done. And high yellows will generate ideas, persuade others to become involved, very much about enthusiasm and charm and persuasiveness. When engaging, with a high blue, you want to be sensitive to their feelings. Green, be precise. Reds, be to the point. Yellow, have fun. And like everything in life, when someone is under stress, some of the weaknesses of that colour style can come through. So the blue is maybe a little submissive, passive, not sharing the insights and thoughts that they have. The green can be resist change, slow to act, they may withdraw. A high red may become restless and critical, rather blunt. And the high yellows may become a little bit manipulative, overeager, impulsive, and maybe inconsistent. So I came out, when I've done this, and I can clearly relate to myself as a high yellow, I can certainly relate to the fact that my strengths, but I can also relate to some of the areas for my development as well. So let's just take as an example. So now between an example of a typical interaction between a high green and a high yellow, working on a project. The high yellow may look at the high green and say you're being overly bureaucratic, you're slowing the process down. Of course, the high green doesn't see that. They look at the high yellow and may say, well, actually, you're being impulsive. You're moving forward too quickly and not basing your decisions on good quality evidence and knowledge. So you get this dynamic built up between them. Now, if the people have got high levels of emotional intelligence, they know what they're like, they know what the other person is like, and therefore they're able to think, actually, possibly there is something, we've just got a different way, a different style and way of working. But that's just an example, and you can do this with each of the colours. But the difference across the axes, two different, so the green to the yellow and the blue to the red have got the biggest differences and potential for relationship issues between those different colours. We tend to use this when we're working with in that type of setting in teams and so on to deal with those kind of issues. The kind of exercises that we might run, here's one about engaging a critical stakeholder. It's an important decision is required as quickly as possible. It's a complex decision. You've been tasked with getting a favourable decision from them. You know their isIMA colour style, so you've got to think, how do you modify your approach to get the positive outcome that you're looking for? And that's the kinds of things. So what do you share with them? At what level of detail? When do you do it? Do you take it to them immediately? Do you build up the evidence and knowledge before you go to them with the issue? Where do you do it? Is it informal? Is it over the telephone? How do you engage with them? I said formal, informal. Do you stress the urgency or do you not stress the urgency? And who? Do you go yourself? Do you take a team of people along with you? Now, just take as a very quick example. A high red would likely want to know very quickly and immediately. They would not want lots of people involved in it, only absolutely critical. They would want it very clear about what the issue was, any proposed solutions. They would want to make the decision, etc. So you can start to see how you can modify your approach to respect the person and to increase your chances of getting a positive outcome as well. So if you're interested, then you may want to complete the isIMA diagnostic. The link is there. I hope you have found this interesting and enjoyable, and look forward to seeing you completing your profile at some point in the future. Okay, thank you.